So next, going down to the public comment then?
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. I don't have a,
Oh, the
right here.
script.
Oh,
I have the public hearing one, but
I did for the regular one.
Okay,
yeah, it's
just
okay.
ask if there's any
Yeah.
agenda public
Yep.
minutes. And then we'll do approval of minutes.
Sure. So, well, first off, is there any comments in writing today?
No, there are not.
Are there anyone who has come to speak in person?
There's nobody attending on Zoom, and Pat, are you just speaking in regard to your nomination later during the
needed,
public
yeah.
hearing? Cool,
Okay,
Here to answer questions, I guess.
perfect.
so seeing none, that is A-okay. Are the approval of the minutes, October 24th, 2023?
Okay, I am going to move that we approve the minutes as written. I didn't see anything, so if no one
Yeah,
else
I'll take
did.
a look real quick. I'm sure it looks good.
second.
We have a motion and a second. So at that point, I believe that we take a vote. So, okay, board member, Alex, or excuse me, I'm sorry. Board member Babajinov, and I'm sorry if I didn't say your name right. Excellent, thank you.
Yes.
Yay or nay?
Yay.
Excellent. Board member Sompi,
Yay.
board member Thomas.
Aye.
Aye, excellent. And board member Salazar for the approval of the minutes.
Yay. Aye.
Excellent.
Sorry.
I'm a, no problem.
Whatever works.
I'm a yay too, so excellent.
That was unanimous, correct?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay,
Okay, now you can do public hearing.
excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so we're ready for the public hearing then. Excellent. The purpose of tonight's public meeting is for the board to review and make a recommendation to be forwarded to City Council for the eligibility and addition of the Graham Smith Pierce House located at 10001 Northeast 190th Street, Bothell, Washington 98011, into the Bothell Register of Historic Landmarks. This is a quasi-judicial matter. I will first go over the order of operations for this matter. As this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, we will begin with swearing in all witnesses wishing to provide testimony. Then the city attorney will ask the board members the appearance of fairness questions. Following that, city staff will present a report laying out tonight's proposal. City staff will then read any written comments received into the record, if there are any. We will then hear from the proponents of the proposal. After, we will open the public hearing to take testimony from the public. Members of the public wishing to testify in this matter will have the opportunity to do so tonight. Testimony will be limited to 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, you will be asked to sit down and no extension of time will be provided. This will allow everyone a chance to speak. Staff will be tracking your time and will let you know whether your 10 minutes are complete. Those wishing to testify but not using all their 10 minutes may not donate the time to another individual wishing to testify. Please confine your remarks to the matter at hand. Any person becoming disruptive or unruly will be asked to leave the meeting. For all those testifying, please speak clearly and pause frequently. And please state your name prior to speaking. If you are joining remotely, city staff will unmute your microphone when it is your opportunity to testify. At the end of public testimony, staff and the project proponents will have the opportunity to present any rebuttal if applicable. At that point, the public hearing will be closed and the board will commence deliberations. We will now swear in the witnesses who will testify in these proceedings. Would all city staff, applicants, and other persons wishing to testify tonight please stand and raise your right hand? Or I'm assuming on Zoom they raised their hand too.
Just in case.
No problem. Do you promise to tell the truth in these proceedings? If so, please respond, I do.
I do. I do.
I do.
Great. Yeah. Well, I do too. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. City Attorney, will you please ask each member of the board the appearance of fairness questions?
Yes, and can I just confirm I have 4 board members present? Ray Thomas.
Five.
We have 5.
Fine. Okay, I've got Ray Thomas, Alex Babinoff, Andrew Salazar, Victoria Sampe. Who else do I have?
Andrew Nelson.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay.
Thank you for being here too.
Yes. Andrew, I'll go ahead and start with you, and I'll go through each person separately. Goes a little faster that way. Do you have any interest in the property or the application or own property within 300 feet of the property subject to the proposal you're hearing tonight?
No.
Does your employer have an interest, financial or otherwise, in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Is there any prospective employment for you or a member of your family as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Do you have any familial, social, or business relationships or connections with any of the parties or non-parties who have an interest in the outcome of the proceedings?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Have you engaged in any ex parte communications with either proponents or opponents of the proposal?
No.
And then the final question, can you hear and consider the proposal in a fair and objective manner?
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
do you have any interest in the property or the application or own property within 300 feet of the property subject to the proposal?
I do not.
Does your employer have an interest, financial or otherwise, in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Is there any prospective employment for you or a member of your family as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Do you have any familial, social, or business relationships or connections with any of the parties or non-parties who have an interest in the outcome of this proceeding?
I know who Pat Pierce is. Other than
Okay.
that, no.
Just so you're not related to her social relationship?
No.
Okay. And have you engaged in any ex parte communications with either proponents or opponents of the proposal?
No.
And last question, can you hear and consider the proposal in a fair and objective manner?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Babinas, I'm so sorry. Babadzanoff? Thank you, apologize. Do you have any interest in the property or the application or own property within 300 feet of the property subject to the proposal?
No.
Okay. Does your employer have an interest, financial or otherwise, in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Is there any prospective employment for you or a member of your family as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Do you have any familial, social, or business relationships or connections with any of the parties or non-parties who have an interest in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Have you engaged in any ex parte communications with either proponents or opponents of the proposal?
No.
And can you hear and consider the proposal in a fair and objective manner?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Salazar,
Yes.
do you have any interest in the property or the application or own property within 300 feet of the property subject to the proposal?
No.
Does your employer have an interest, financial or otherwise, in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Is there any prospective employment for you or a member of your family as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Do you have any family, social, or business relationships or connections with any of the parties or non-parties who have an interest in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Do you stand to gain or lose financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Have you engaged in any ex parte communications with either proponents or opponents of the proposal?
No.
Okay. And can you hear and consider the proposal in a fair and objective manner?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ms. Sampe? Okay. Do you have an interest in the property or the application or own property within 300 feet of the property subject to this proposal?
You hear me? No?
Now I can hear you. Thank you. Does your employer have an interest, financial or otherwise, in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Is there any prospective employment for you or a member of your family as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Do you have any family, social, or business relationships or connections with any of the parties or non-parties who have an interest in the outcome of this proceeding?
I've known Pat for many years socially.
Social relationship, okay. Do you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Have you engaged in any ex parte communications with either proponents or opponents of the proposal?
No.
And last question, can you hear and consider the proposal in a fair and objective manner?
Yes.
That's everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, thank you again, City Attorney. Does anyone in attendance wish to challenge the participation of any board member based on the appearance of fairness doctrine? If so, please raise your hand, either in person or virtually. Seeing there's none, but I'll read the rest of it just to be clear with it. When called upon, please state the name of the member and the reasonings why you believe they should be disqualified from this matter. Please remember, we are not taking public comment at this point in the evening, so please limit your statements to any reasons you believe a board member should be disqualified only. We will hear all challenges first before any challenged board member will have an opportunity to respond to such challenge. Seeing as there are no challenges I see, I think we will now ask city staff to please grant the staff report presentation.
Have all the board members had a chance to review the nomination?
I haven't had the chance, just to be honest. Thank you.
Yes.
That was Andrew, I think.
Yes.
I thought you were asking a yes or no question if we've had a chance to review it. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, no, he was, yeah, no, he was asking.
Sarah, which document is this? Which document is this?
We'll do screen.
Thank you.
Hopefully that works.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
That works perfectly. To get to the photos.
It's like Bothell.
It is Bothell, yes, in topographic form. And so
Exactly.
the nomination up for consideration by the board this evening is for the property located at 10001 Northeast 190th Street. And this is being referred to as the Graham Smith Pierce House. And the nomination is to list the property on the Bothell Register of Historic Landmarks. And this is the current area, just for orientation, this is the current aerial, showing the location of the property. And interestingly, this is a historic aerial, which there appears to have been a unidentified building or structure on the lot prior to 1949 when the subject house was constructed. And fortunately, we had the King County records, to reference. But as many of you are no doubt very well aware, doing property research by street address in Bothell is very, very difficult. Difficult in the best of circumstances and nigh on impossible in the worst of circumstances. And so the farthest back that we were really able to confirm chain of ownership on this particular property using the tax assessor records was just shortly after the house was constructed in 1949.
So there is a building there of some sort.
Of some sort. And
Wonder whose barn or something.
Exactly. And unfortunately, as many of you know, the King County assessor used to purge, records. And so
Tell me about it. I just ran into an issue this week with a big one.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in this particular case, we are fortunate it is in King County. And so we do have a historic photograph of this house, which was designed and constructed by I.V. Graham, one of the noted, dare we say, prominent pioneer families of Bothell that many of you have probably come across the Graham name before. I first became familiar with the Graham name when I worked on a historic property report for Waite and Abby Graham's house on Riverside, which unfortunately had lost so much integrity that it was not eligible for landmarking. This is such an interesting contrast between this particular house, which was built in 1949, and then the McAdoo house, which we just reviewed 3 months ago. Sorry, time flies. And the span of time between
There's a huge difference.
9 years.
Yeah.
So 9 years, and it's just a really, really, really interesting.
But are you seeing this type of building really relates to you actually see some of them pre-war, not so many, and then post-war because it was in the chain,
Right.
and not only convenient and accessible and low cost.
Right.
So it was, you see this all around the country, but you don't see a lot of it being kept.
Exactly. And so what's really interesting about this is that it's classified as a World War II era cottage, and which is related to the minimal traditional style. And what's really kind of fascinating is that newspaper advertisements that I.V. Graham placed in the newspaper contemporaneously when he built this house, not pertaining to this particular house, but pertaining to other properties that he would build and reportedly live in and then sell. The interesting thing is that he definitely pointed out the fact that they were FHA approved, so that someone could qualify, pre-war, because he built buildings both before World War II and after World War II, and he made it very clear in those newspaper advertisements that someone could qualify for an FHA loan, or someone could qualify, GI Bill, funding after World War II. It's very emblematical of its time period. It is a representative example of a very intact World War II era cottage in Bothell.
Yeah.
The one thing that has changed due to a shall we say, a careless driver who ran into
You
the
mean the
house.
collision?
Yes, yes, a collision with the house, a collision with the house. And so,
They hit the chimney first and then
Oh,
back
yeah.
the side of the house.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of the character defining features of this house, that
It was
are
fixed.
very, very unique, to this house and also to the World War II cottages in general. And of course the orientation is very interesting to have this gable front with the fireplace. Usually World War II cottages, you've got that front facing entrance, and in this case it faces to the side.
Maybe that was an adaptation for weather.
It might very well have been. That does make a lot of sense. And one of the really interesting features is, of course, this enclosed breezeway between the main house and the detached garage, which, like I said, we are fortunate, and also just the really, really, really nice front door with the kind of the speakeasy, viewport, just really, really nicely detailed. So, we can tell from the historic photograph that, those features are intact. It's like the chimney has been faithfully reconstructed following the attempted complete deconstruction by Carr. And the rest of the house, obviously, featuring the really distinctive and very common to this era, big cedar shingles with the raked faces and, the wonderful divided light picture windows. The other thing too is that the operable sash windows that one sees on the front of the house, on either side of the chimney, and then also in other parts of the house, is an adaptation of the earlier cottage style sash, where you had a larger lower sash that was operable and a smaller upper sash. And so, it's an interesting adaptation of a type of window that you could see going all the way back to like the early 20th century, working man's four squares, and, even some of the, excuse me, the pine, they call it the pioneer homestead, style. And this is also, from the original landmark nomination was this historic photo, which is really unusual because, it's not, any sort of rear view is rather unusual. And so we are fortunate to have this to further demonstrate the high degree of integrity that the house possesses. And then the other thing too is that we've got these wonderful, wonderful drawings courtesy of the applicant that are in I.B. Graham's own hand. They are his designs, and also kind of further demonstrate the original design intent of the house. Very straightforward, and very modestly scaled, but it is a wonderful, it's a wonderfully, it may be just over 800 square feet. I forget the exact square footage, if you'll forgive me.
850
Thank you.
for the house.
But it's a very, very generous. I love the layout. The interior is really, really wonderful. So we have the two of the elevations. We have the floor plan, and we also have the foundation plan. And the original tax assessor's card that described all the features of the house, which further demonstrate the high degree of integrity. And so the other thing that we were very fortunate to have was to have the chain of the owners. Starting just after the house was constructed in 1949. And So the first, besides Graham, and we assigned the name Graham. It's a little bit atypical, because usually the name of a house, the name of a property, a landmark property, is usually those who are directly associated with it, who generally owned it and lived there. However, in this case, we needed to hedge because we weren't entirely sure, exactly, the Grahams may have potentially lived in it just based on, some of the other patterns with the other properties. Where the family would live in the house. And so Lloyd L. Smith, purchased the property from I.B. Graham in 1949 and owned it until 1958. So one of the very, relatively, it was at 9 years. And then several more individuals owned the property. And, those are described, from what we were able to glean, elsewhere in the document. That included from 1958 to 1964, R.R. Blaine. Unfortunately, we don't know any life dates. 1964 to 1967, Harry M. Holcomb, again, life dates unknown. 1967 to 68, Larry Aldridge. 1968 to, unfortunately unknown, is John P. Yarns. And then at an unknown date up until 1975, we don't know. And then 1975, Betty Ann Yarno. And, between me and my coworkers, like, we've become real whizzes at using Ancestry, and these people are just in the we had a very, very difficult time finding anything else out. And then from 1976 to 1979 is Mrs. Ruth J. Epler, again, life dates unknown. And then finally,
Yeah, I think she's probably passed.
okay. And then from 1979 to the present is the applicant, Pat Pierce.
And it was a rental before the woman before me. The last one mentioned there, the last woman.
Oh,
It was a rental, and I don't know who owned it.
We have, so staff has recommended that the property is significant under 3 applicable Bothell register criteria. Significant under B, the property is associated with the lives of persons significant in local, state, or national history. Criterion C, that the property exemplifies or reflects special elements of the city's cultural, special, economic, political, aesthetic, engineering, or architectural history. And then D, criterion D, the property embodies the distinctive architectural characteristics of a type, period, style, or method of construction, or represents a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. And so we also furthermore recommend that the property still possesses sufficient integrity to convey its significance, and recommends that it is eligible for designation as it is eligible to be listed in the Bothell Register of Historic Landmarks. Thank you. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, first off, thank you, Adam, and your team for everything you do. I like, great presentation. I think that house looks really good. I'm just gonna say, in my opinion, but
It does.
especially now. Well, thank you again. So, city staff will now read into the record any written comments received. Have there been any written comments?
No written comments.
Okay. We will now proceed. We will now proceed as the project applicant to speak on the proposal. Please recall that you will have 10 minutes within which to speak.
These guys write a great report.
Yeah, it looks real. Yeah, I mean, my only thing is just say, like I said, it looks really good. That's really my only comment.
Are you happy with the report and anything?
Yeah.
you wanna
Yeah,
add?
it was, the report started, we were gonna form a district. And we had some problems with windows, shall we say, and so it all fell apart. So a lot of it came from, the things that were already written
Mhm.
by Sarah before she left. She had put
Yeah.
that together.
I'm glad you're following through with it.
Well, not a district, but at
I know.
least two of us that would like to be on the record. The
Yeah.
other one's coming up next month.
No, that's great.
And I have a question. Do you have any plaques still for the, or who does?
We haven't had any come up recently, Pat, but we should be able to do it.
Yeah.
I
Because if it does
Hope
come
we
up,
still have our plaque.
I'd like to have it called the I.B. Graham House, since he designed it and built it.
Yeah.
And they did kind of live off and on in the houses as they were building them, so it is very possible that he and his wife lived there.
In case you haven't seen it, there's plaques around town.
Yeah, no, I've seen some
So,
before.
Yeah. If we don't have the design readily, we can always go rub it and send it in again.
Well, they have them down at the museum and stuff.
I
so
know,
you just
but
get-
we just have to get it. Each time I've had to go and either get pictures or something so we can send it out.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't keep the specs for it and they don't keep the manufacturers ready.
That's
I know.
bad.
Yeah, I think I designed the first one in 94.
Been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while.
Any further questions for the applicant?
None?
I have a question. This is Alex.
Excellent. Yes.
What year was the garage built?
The garage built? It was
Because
done
originally
in
there
the,
was a carport, as I see on the plans. I'm curious because it's the garage that really throws this off for me. Can anybody answer that?
Just 1 second, please.
Thank you.
would you want to know the year it was built?
Yeah, ideally.
And the garage is showing in the 49
I mean,
picture.
the garage was built in 1949 with the house.
No, there was a carport.
And there was a breezeway between the house.
Alex, they changed the design. That's really common, especially I would imagine if the builder lived in the house, he realized that the carport wasn't going to cut it.
And put in a breezeway instead. So
Yeah.
there was a little roof between the house and the garage.
Yeah.
And that breezeway, where they showed you is all,
Here's the garage is in the
closed now,
picture.
was just open at that time. There's other things in the plans that are been changed a bit. That isn't the only thing. So there's some things that he changed as he went through.
Okay.
On the interior, there's a couple things in there and there wasn't a chimney sticking up the middle of the house. That came with heating, I guess, later on. And some of the pictures show it, another chimney sticking up in the middle of the
That
house.
was about that too.
But if you were that old, you'd have a few changes.
So, to answer the question currently, we have photographic documentation that proves that the garage is in place by 1953.
That's
So-
the picture there.
Yeah, and so there's no other documentation other than that photograph. So we've got 4 years.
How do we know that photograph is from 1953 or prior?
That was the date that was given on the photograph from the original landmark nomination.
Oh, it's in the King County records, isn't it?
Not figure 17.
Oh,
So
okay.
figure 16 is from 1949. Not long after the house was completed. Figure 17 is from the original landmark nomination. And the date that was on that photograph was 1953. So 4 years time span. But that's all we know.
but it's the same color and the same materials, so.
Okay, are there any other comments and or questions?
It's a good question, actually.
Do we know if the roof was redone to something more modern? Obviously, like in the past 5-10 years, is it looks a bit modern to me. I remember we had one home years ago we looked at, and kind of one of the reasons we didn't approve it is because the shingles kind of on the roof were very different. And does anybody care about that?
The only change I know to the roof, other than the chimney coming and going in the middle there, kind of above the little back of the front door, is there was a vent on the back part of the house. It's a vent for the roof. It was kind of stuck out a bit, and that was taken out when they put in different venting for the roof.
And then, just specifically
It just had a little screen door in it, kind of thing.
to answer the board member's question, the 1949 roof condition that was called out in the assessor's record is asphalt shingle. And the roof is presently clad with asphalt shingle, which is consistent with the historic condition.
And there's code venting requirements if you do a roof currently that the venting is at the ridge line now instead of allowing it to be an attic vent. You can still have an attic vent, but you must have the other changes.
Yeah, well, they took out the attic vent when they put in the,
Yeah.
Well, great question, Board Member Babajanov. Are there any other questions or comments?
What's the assessed value of the home as it sits today?
That is not germane to the presentation at hand and the consideration of the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
No further questions.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions, though.
Mr. Chair, the next step is motion.
To put on the board.
So as the chair, all you do is, because the chair can't make the motion, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I get that.
So the chair asks for a motion. So any of the board members
Certainly.
other than yourself can make a motion. And so, just so that, just a little bit of instructions before we go through with this. It's like there are 4 potential motions, for the board's consideration. One of them is approval as submitted.
Yeah.
The other is approval with conditions. The other is a table, for further consideration. So just so that everybody is aware of those.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yes.
Okay, well, would anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the nomination for Bothell Register of Historic Landmarks for the I.B. Graham House at 1001 Northeast 190th Street in Bothell, 98011.
Yeah.
As submitted.
As submitted. Thank you.
Is there a
I
second? There is a second. Excellent. So I believe at that point we take a vote. For discussion, yeah. Well, that's a good point, huh? So is there any discussion surrounding that motion? Seeing none, I believe that we will go to a vote. So I will go just how I see the board members. Board Member Thomas,
Aye.
Board Member Sampi,
Aye.
Board Member Babajanov,
Aye.
Board Member Salazar,
Aye.
and I am an aye.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you for being here
information,
and
for recording
Yes.
this.
Well,
Sure.
let's see, you've owned the property since 79.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for keeping it.
Yeah, that's, like I said, that was
Oh,
the first photo I saw. I said, oh my goodness, that's a good house. It's in shape.
we need to close the
Her
hearing.
garden is always lovely.
And thank you for volunteering your time and coming here today with us. That means a lot to me.
Thank you for
Does
what
that
you're
require a
doing.
motion?
Excellent, thank you.
Take care.
You too.
I owe you an email.
Okay. And I'd like a copy of the final write-up.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, because never mind.
The museum
Okay.
has to have a copy.
Uh,
So the museum should have a copy too.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's not in here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, what do we need?
We do need to close the public hearing, which is not in the script. Are we we're okay to just do that now, right? Okay. So Chair, you can basically just say,
This now closes.
We are now closing this public hearing.
perfect.
Thank you.
Here, write that on the bottom of your script.
Good idea.
I'm gonna have to go through the script again. Because, we will eventually have to
It's
do
really,
this again.
it's really close. This is why you
Yep.
keep notes.
And finesse. Yep.
Do we have the second property to consider?
No, I was about to talk about that.
Okay, so that's why we have the hearing closed.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's why we have the hearing closed so that we can move on
To the next
to
hearing,
the next, which is that
the other property.
with the
Sure.
other.
New
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Oh.
A
Um,
little bit of an oddball.
yeah. And so we'll need to go through all of the steps.
Okay. So basically, it's the same thing, just switch the address like on, okay.
The same script and the fairness. Yeah.
Do we need to do fairness questions if they're not here to
Well,
present and we're not actually considering
Yeah,
everything?
this is a little bit unusual.
Because we'll do it again when we actually are considering it, right?
Correct.
Hmm.
Kim, do you think that we have to open the hearing if, the case is going to be at a future, publicly posted hearing? The applicant has not submitted their nomination yet.
You're
That's-
on mute.
It's not really a hearing.
You're muted.
It happens to me all
Thank
the time,
you.
don't worry.
I do it every day.
Yeah.
I would not do any part of the public hearing then tonight. I would wait until you have all the materials and just publish, notice it as a public hearing for that night. You're gonna actually consider it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I know at planning commission, we've opened it, said there's nothing to discuss. We'll discuss it at a future date and then close it. Okay.
Okay.
You
Same.
could do that if that felt right to you, you could do that as well.
If we don't need to, then we don't need to. I'm down. Less is more.
Yeah, it'll be heard at a future date to be determined.
Yes.
The applicant asked to be put onto the January agenda, but there's not enough time to post, and
Yes.
so not receiving
Oh.
a nomination yet.
That's true.
There's not enough time to post.
Glad you realized that. I didn't.
How do dates hit in February then? Because I may not be able to attend a meeting in February. If we take a look at the dates. I'm just looking ahead thinking, uh-oh.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Or be the latter part of February.
We have a leap year.
We
That's
do,
right, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Mhm.
But it's the last week of February that I'm a little concerned about. Because that would be the 27th. I will need to see when we are leaving. Because we're flying out. That's why I hate February.
Yeah, short month.
No, the end of the month always messes you up on where things are.
So yeah, just kind of a look ahead on that particular case. It is definitely not going to be in January. It might be in February, but at this point, honestly, I think it's going to be March.
It'd probably be more comfortable in March to give you
Yeah.
guys enough time to actually put things together.
Yeah.
And be able to review them.
Correct.
That makes sense anyway. I believe we're flying out on the 28th. That's the date that's in my agenda, so.
That's a Sunday.
No, that's a Wednesday. The 27th is Tuesday, but knowing how long it takes to make these reports.
Yep.
And to also assess it and then schedule things.
Me.
Reality is, it takes a quarter.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, Mr. Chair, the public hearing is closed and
Excellent.
we're going to be moving on to new business.
Let me just say, the good news about these public, I'm only gonna get better at this.
It's tough.
We all do.
It's tough. It's tough. That's why we have a script.
Thank you
were
all for,
so lucky. We didn't have a script for 20.
yeah, that would be tough. Thank you all for bearing it out with me, by the way, so thank you again. Moving on to new business.
The new business is the revision of the bylaws for the Bothell Landmark Preservation Board. And so the draft revised bylaws were included in the packet. And
Thank you for sharing.
and so my understanding is that, you can do approve, or you can approve with conditions, i.e. alterations, or you can table it, is my understanding of. Sarah, did I get that correct?
Yes, I think so. I heard about half of it.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I told, oh, yeah, please do. I told the board members that they basically have three options. They can approve with
Yeah,
conditions.
makes sense.
Yes.
And then, not.
More secretary.
Well, no,
Reject.
to pursue finding.
Table it for
Oh.
future date.
We can also, like, you can suggest changes, suggest edits. I think most of what's there has been pretty well standardized with what we have going on at Council and Planning Commission. So most of this is fairly consistent with those other two things, so I don't know that I'd necessarily yeah, it's all fairly consistent, so. The only thing we don't have on there that we do have on Planning Commission and council meetings is the 3-minute public comment section. So if you feel like that's something you'd like to add in, we could, but it is also referenced as like, we basically follow what council does and it's referenced in council. So
Look there.
so it's there, it's just adjacent rather than written out.
But they have written out a number of the other items, so it might
To just include it.
to include it so that it's there.
I guess it's better to have it, just to have it and people look, but
Yeah,
Um,
otherwise you have to refer to it and say, see
Yeah.
this, but
these changes need to go to council for final approval, is that correct?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't actually know.
a lot of times
I-
we would actually have to go before council
That
for it, so
wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know,
I
so I
would
can find out.
suspect. I think it's,
Yeah.
My
I-
understanding is most of these changes are to be consistent with other boards.
Correct.
yes,
Okay, so these are primarily administrative or
Yeah.
technical changes.
Yes,
And-
correct.
Um,
We're basically updating the document to be for consistency.
that makes
so
sense.
that it matches the other ones
Yeah.
that they've already updated for
Correct.
consistency.
Yep.
and do we know the last time it was updated?
Yes, we do.
2018.
Yep. And before that, 2001.
Oh, so that was a big leap, and then now, okay, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because I,
COVID.
Yeah,
um, and are you aware, I heard some things about the, I'm not sure, do you know exactly what,
yeah, I
the
think it looks,
term for the Bothell
there's a bit more, but it probably looks good.
Association, what do they call themselves? Down at the landing,
For
the,
the
Oh,
museum.
yeah.
okay, that they're working to enter a more direct relationship with the city. Is that correct or not correct, or?
The only thing I've heard about it is what folks have said at public comment during council meetings. So I don't know. I can find out,
Okay.
but I don't know.
um,
I haven't heard that it's beyond.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Heck, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been concerned about the paragraph here. The board shall serve as the city's primary resource on matters of history, historic planning and preservation. And historic planning and preservation to identify and actively encourage the conservation of city's register of historic landmarks. And to review proposed changes to listed properties, raise community awareness. I think our primary focus has been on that small little segment of historic building preservation and not too clear on being a primary resource of history, historic planning or preservation, and the raising of community awareness concerning the city's history and historic resources. So I've always thought we should, as a board, discuss that more fully and see how we might move to fill out those other sort of
Over,
areas of.
over time, partly back when we had larger budgets, we were more able to fulfill that part of the duties of the landmark board. And that, from that was where we also went out for the grants, that we did the video and the book. And part of that was, we did have bigger budgets to work with.
Well, and I think if
You know,
those areas are important for us, it's to push back at the city than to expand a budget here, because basically we don't have a budget.
we also at that time did the walking tour.
The town ground loop one?
Well, he borrowed some of that from the walking tour that was done previous.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
And then UW took the walking tour and expanded it for their needs.
Got it.
Okay.
So it's,
But again, it's a matter of budget. And it also, a really good thing is that when we talk about ideas of things that we would like to do in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, those are some of the things that we can talk about for projects, so that we're not just confined to asking for, say, the plaques for properties that have been lost. That we can actually be a little more proactive on historic property information, and maybe even go back to looking at tours that extend along the North Creek and things like that.
Well, I would like to propose at some point, and I don't know whether it needs a motion or whatever, but that, I mean, we have a consulting team right now, and that consulting team, I assume, works with other cities and communities as well. And I would sort of like to know what landmarks preservation boards or historic boards or those kind of things, maybe a sampling. I mean, we got a little bit with a sort of a conference that Sarah had us attend. I mean, we could sit in on so, remotely, a glimpse of how some communities take their history pretty seriously and they get into it. And some of that history is, laudatory, and some of it's not so laudatory. And,
Yep.
And
It's all history though.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's all worth revealing so that people know where they've been, what's been here before, and what's happened to get where we are.
One
So
thing, sorry.
that alone could require a budget amendment to spend money to look at expanding the board's
Yeah. So what I'm,
reach into the community.
yeah. What I'm hearing in terms of the actual bylaws is that we should either, if either reevaluate how the board is being used in general to get us to this description that is currently here, or perhaps revise this description to reflect what is currently happening and currently available. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I would
And-
obviously prefer the former,
Of course.
but one or the other probably should happen.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're like in the bylaws, there isn't a thing about budgets. So I'm trying to sort of like,
Exactly.
what do we need to change and edit within the bylaws? Even though all of those things are definitely connected.
If there's an edit in the bylaws, it does need to be checked against the requirements of the certified local
Of
government.
course, yep. And would need to be checked with like all of the other,
Yeah,
you know, like we're
but-
talking
but I
about the
think
budget
that's-
stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly within the duties and responsibilities, I think.
Okay.
I don't know how you exist as a board or any body if you don't propose a budget.
Sure.
May not get approved, but at least you propose it.
Totally.
One thing I saw, and I'm interested when this was, we might not know when it was added, but I'm interested to hear if you know, is of Article 3, the last sentence, meeting may be held virtually or in a hybrid format upon direction of State Council. This was originally from 2018, correct? And then we made the edits off of that. So that's kind of forward thinking because COVID really made virtual meetings kind of a big thing. But before then, I don't know how often they happen, but
No,
they didn't happen.
they didn't.
That was my guess is, and I don't have any way of, but my guess is that was probably added for COVID.
Yeah, that makekes sense. I just thought it was
We
interesting.
also remember when we had the technology, at what point we had technology to enable us to be able to do that.
Yeah,
It's kind of,
It probably should have showed up as a track change.
that's okay. I just thought it was a good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good change. I like it. I just thought, yeah, if this is from 2018, that's forward thinking, right? But,
The only other recommendation was in section 7, and I would certainly say at the end of that, the last 3 words, I would say, where it says and American studies, I would have and Native American studies added to that as criteria for being on the board.
It's a good change. I could Native American.
Or Native American studies, I guess. I don't know why it would say and there, but because it would be 2 professionals selected from.
I guess it'd be Native American studies and American studies.
Indigenous,
And
Or indigenous.
that's good. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
better.
but I don't know what the intent of that language is.
I mean, the intent of the language is more geared toward the Secretary of the Interior's professional qualification standards.
Yeah.
But it's expanding beyond what those are, which is just architecture, historic architecture, archaeology, and history.
Mm.
And it's expanding into other
yeah.
realms.
I mean, I do know some people who consider the indigenous studies under the cultural anthropology.
Correct.
Yeah, see that.
And archaeology.
I mean, you could stretch that, but I don't think that most indigenous studies
I think it could be a good thing to add, but you know,
in fact, sometimes find archaeology and cultural anthropology offensive.
Yeah.
To native.
I would
Indigenous.
suggest, can we check it against what what they're using in the, Department of Interior language now?
Well, well, I mean, their professional qualification standards, like I said, it's
Yeah.
only architecture, historic architecture,
Oh, they only
archaeology,
do
and
the-
history. They only do 4.
This is.
This is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually above and beyond that.
Yeah.
So the intent is to be more inclusive, right?
Yeah.
And because there was an attempt to expand the Secretary of the Interior's professional qualification standards.
What we were trying,
while
what we've
ago,
run into
at least
is
15,
getting
20 years
people
ago.
to, keeping the 2 professionals on the board is finding the 2 that can qualify under those,
Oh, yeah, understood, which is you,
which is me.
Right,
Which is-
right?
Yeah.
It's it's always a tough one.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it's partly one of the reasons that I've continued to re-up on the board. But it's also because it's good to have, it only takes 1 meeting a month. And in my
Yeah.
schedule, that's nothing.
So Sarah,
Yes.
there's a lot that's proposed to be changed.
Mhm.
I think that it's, up to the board members and the chair to decide, how they wish to proceed. The board and, the chair may call for a motion. The board may request that staff do additional wordsmithing based on the comments that we received. And then, basically the recommendation would be to table this until the January meeting.
Yeah.
This was not a public notice item. It's just a regular
Oh,
agenda
yeah,
item.
this is just.
Yep.
And so, we can certainly, work on that as well. The other thing too is that, Ashley Winchell, who was on maternity leave, comes back at the beginning of the year. And she's got, the much longer experience with the board
Yes.
and can also advise on this process. But we definitely wanted to go ahead and get it out there because it had been apparently 5 years
Mhm.
before, since,
Yeah.
the last major
Yeah.
revision. And then before that, it was 17 years. So
Well, the last one was pretty major, believe me.
I can certainly imagine. So, and certainly, those are the options.
I think
think.
that's a wise
Well,
choice.
well, first off, board members Babajanov and Salazar, do you have any comments to add? I should have called you earlier, but I want to make sure that if you have any comments, that you can voice them.
I do not.
I do not either.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. So I guess I would ask if there's a motion to,
Yeah, I'll attempt to make a motion here.
no problem.
I'll
Thank you.
move that, that we, as the board, table the changes and review and potential changes of the bylaws and rules of procedure until staff has more time to look into some of these potential changes and can make recommendations following in January or potentially February. Or future meeting. Let's just say future meeting.
Sounds good.
I'll wait until the motion's written. Is that,
Review changes to the bylaws until staff has time to.
Review,
To
to review
to
potential
review,
changes.
potential additional changes to the
Yeah.
bylaws.
Okay. Thank you.
To be presented
At a future meeting of the.
That finessing between vague and precise is always a little.
So Chair, you've got a motion.
yes, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Board Member Thomas seconds. Is there any discussion on this motion? One, two, three, four, five. Just teasing.
No.
Okay, well, seeing none, I think it is appropriate for us to go to a vote. So, Board Member Salazar.
Aye.
Board Member Bylaws. Thank you so much, Board Member. Thank you. Board Member Thomas,
Aye.
Board Member Sompi,
Aye.
and myself, aye.
But thank you for all your work.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say thank you for everything you guys do. You all do.
Okay. So, next, reports from staff?
Yeah, so received notification from, the State of Washington Certified Local Government Program. There's a report that I need to complete. And so gonna be working on that. That'll obviously be the first one that I've done, so I think it's due in January or February. That's it at this time.
Excellent. Are there any reports from our board members? Seeing none?
I'll move, we adjourn.
Okay. There's been a motion to adjourn by Board Member Sompi. Is there a second?
Second.
Board Member
It's
Thomas.
already out the door.
Board Member Thomas seconds. I'm assuming there's no discussion. But I'm just gonna ask, is there any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, let's take a vote. Board Member Salazar,
Aye.
Board Member Babajinov,
Aye.
Board Member Thomas,
Aye.
Board Member Sompi,
Aye.
myself, aye.
Wow.
Yeah, it was about an hour.
7:10.
That's a record.
Yes.
Thank you, City Attorney Pratt, too.
Thank
Thank
you
you everyone
all.
for being here.
I think on your language.
Thank you
if
very
can
much.
pick up Those
Have a great holiday.
things, keeping the
Happy holidays.
Thank you, you the same.
qualifications for the professional as broad as possible is very helpful.